Hey, Mikaela, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Heidi ho. Thanks so much for having me on. My name is Mikaela Duffy. I'm an author in Brooklyn, New York, and I am a fantasy author. So if you're into like swords and magic and fighting against the man, I'm the author for you.
Love it. I would love if you could tell us more what your book is about.
Sure. So my book is The Mistport Guardians, The Stolen Child, and it is about a great many things, and most of all, it is about like the unbreakable bonds of friendship and fighting for what's right, regardless of anything else. But in a more cohesive way of saying it, it is a multi-point of view epic fantasy that is the first installation in tetralogy, and it is about this group of people. So when Nikeah Emberblade, a fiery swordswoman, escapes her home island in search of a way to eradicate the slave trade port in the bustling city of Mistport, she falls into fate with a diverse company of characters. Kaz Darcy, the lord of the people, Pepe, a wily rogue, Lafayette Faygrass, a scrappy artificer, and eventually Trisna, a naive apostate. And together, they rescue a trafficked girl at a trading port and get involved in an underground rebellion that rages against a tyrannical, racist, classist, and anti magic empire that holds the city hostage. And throughout their misadventures, they become a found family, develop their own skills, discover the true nature of the child they saved, and realize just how gray the morality of both sides of the rebellion truly are.
Love that. What inspired you to write your book?
So, I'm pretty sure this is just an audio thing, but for you, because you can see me, that's a bunch of art of these Dungeons and Dragons or D&D tabletop role-playing games characters that I have collected over the years, because this is actually the novelization of my campaign with my chosen family.
Love that. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who it's for?
Who the book is for? Um, Honestly, it's very similar to I think our demographic. So all of the main characters are in their late 20s, early 30s. A lot of people who are disenfranchised and disillusioned by society and the government and like all of these different things that we were meant to be able to depend upon, and just want some kind of escapism from that. And so people who grew up on Lord of the Rings and other kind of escapism fantastical things, this is kind of the story for you. So generally if someone's on the older side, so not teeny boppers that are 17 and suddenly are the chosen ones. These are all people who are real and have gone through real life experiences and are have done have had the hopes and the dreams and the failures and the mishaps of actually existing as people in the real world, or people in the world as adults, and can make decisions based off of more than just their hormones or some prophecy.
Love that. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
So I have been writing as a whole since I think I learned how to write. Like I have a little it's like a little cloth and cardboard book I made when I was like 6. And it's somewhere in the house at the moment. So probably when I was like 6 was when I really started to write, and then I've written throughout my life. I've written little tiny stories when I was younger. When BBC Sherlock was a thing, your girl read and wrote so much fan fiction. And then I actually after I graduated from college and ended up getting into theater and to other forms of art. I actually started writing plays. So I originated my like serious writing as a playwright, doing things in the fringe circuit, and then I actually last year just did an off Broadway show called Star Sweeper: A Human Odyssey, and it won a bunch of awards, and it was really really wonderful. It was a wonderful experience because that was all about humanity and how there's some good in the world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. But this particular piece, I sat down writing in March of 2021. Yeah, 2022. And so I started writing it on my birthday. I was just hanging out at the house. I had nothing better to do, and I started it as an exercise. I didn't start it to like actually write a book. I started it as a writing exercise to see if I could write action. And I don't know how much you know about like tabletop role playing games, but most of those start with like an inciting action, right? Some kind of big fight that all the characters get to know each other in, and like, oh hey, you got my back for some inexplicable reason. And so I wanted to try and write that. And then as I kept writing, it just kind of kept happening. And like I mentioned, the writing that I'm doing is all about my chosen family. And so every day I sit down to write, I'm hanging out with my best friends all day long. And it's really cool. And so that's kind of like inspired the keeping of the writing. But the actual sitting down and just one like deciding to write the book was just I was trying to have fun.
Love that. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
What is my schedule like when I am writing a book? Okay, so my day job, because I do not make lots of money writing yet. My day job is a bartender, right? So I work 40 hours a week, and on the days that I do have off, I have 3 days off a week. One day is like at the beginning of the week when I do my laundry and all those other things, and then I have 2 days off that are in a row that I dedicate solely to writing. And I may have a different schedule than most authors. Because what I will do is I will go at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, go find my favorite cafe, um, or the library or something like that. I'll sit there, you spend, 30, 45 minutes, drinking a chai latte and like getting my brain in the right space. And then I just write. Like I just sit there and just like word vomit onto the page. And I have tried the Pomodoro method. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's that's a really cool thing. If you're struggling with just writing and just working, it's like I do 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off, where you do like 45 minutes, you like hardcore write and don't look at anything, don't talk to anything, don't do anything. And then for 15 minutes, you completely extricate yourself from it and don't do anything regarding your writing, and only kind of like, unplug for a moment. Um, I'm so sorry. I know you could probably hear that.
Totally fine.
Yeah,
I
I was like,
didn't hear much.
okay, good. I live in Brooklyn, which means that things happen in the hallways all the time.
Yeah,
um,
totally fine.
but yeah, so essentially I just do that all day long. And then like when the cafe or the library closes at 5:30, I close up shop and head home and don't write.
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Ooh, okay, so I have ADHD, which makes writing really, really hard. And so I need a lot of things. I need a lot of quiet. I need a lot of quiet. Um, so like libraries are great. Also like really, really quiet cafes. But it can't be silent because then my brain gets the zoomies and then I start making up stuff for me to pay attention to, right? So one of my favorite cafes in New York City is called Le Fin, and it is just everyone there is wonderful. It has got all the vibes. They're immaculate. Um, and there's this beautiful window seat. So like on the street, it's actually this platform that looks onto the street with a window surrounding it. So you actually sit cross-legged with like a lap table, and it's right in the sun, and you get to people watch. And so like they have, normally it's like Studio Ghibli music that's like playing in the background, but it's like super super light and it's like piano, and it's like super gentle. So you have like this really really soft music in the background with coffee machine noises and people tippy tapping on their computers. So like that kind of stuff, chef's kiss. That helps me focus a lot. um I also need no one to talk to me. I'm an aggressive extrovert, and I do not have the self control. If you start to talk to me, I will talk to you. So I need to be somewhere where people don't often, interact with you. So libraries are great because nobody's talking to each other. Um, and then I always like to have, always hydrate or dihydrate. This is your bartender telling you, please drink water. Uh, and so yeah, so hydrate, quiet. I need to be comfortable. So whether that's wearing comfortable clothing or like being in a comfortable atmosphere, like for example, like Le Fin is like my home cafe, and so I'm comfortable there. Everybody knows me. They know my order. When they see my cup empty, they bring me another one. It's so sweet. And so yeah, comfort, quiet, um, good vibes, good vibes. So just anywhere where I'm like I'm at home. Because I write when I'm happy, so I have to be somewhere where I'm actively enjoying it.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
Okay, so I'm a chai latte gal. I wish I liked coffee. It smells so good. And I would love to like hit all the writer vibe memes with all the coffee that they drink, and I just can't. It tastes like angry old bean juice and I can't do it. So I drink a lot of chai lattes. And then for sticky snacks, ah, I don't actually eat when I'm writing. I because I don't like stuff on my fingers. So I will normally eat and then write, and then if I need to take a break to go eat something else, like I will normally like separate those two tasks. But I will sip on a chai latte all day long. I probably go through 4 or 5 of them.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
um, what kind of books do I enjoy reading? The same ones I write, babe. I am a big fantasy gal. I yeah, I've always been a big fantasy gal. So the ones that I'm currently reading normally have to do with some kind of magical bit or adventure, like adventure, fantasy, big heroic journeys, something where good fights evil or little people fight the big conglomerate system, all of those kind of things. I'm really about a hero's journey. Those are the things that really get me. I love when people struggle and do the things because they know they have to get done, or they're protecting someone, or they have dreams and they want to achieve them. Like those are the things that really get me going.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I have 4 cats. Promise this is relevant. I have 4 cats, and they are named Tolkien, Conan, Reardon, and Jacques. And so J.R.R. Tolkien is like the OG fantasy guy. He's the person who created a lot of what fantasy as we know it really is today. That first stepping out of reality and creating your whole new world. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writes, obviously Sherlock Holmes, and I'm a big fan of detective work and like my degree is actually in legal studies and criminal profiling. um, and so like that whole deductive reasoning was always something that really really resonated with me. And also, who doesn't love 1800s England, except for all the terrible things that were happening. But otherwise, romantically, it's really cool. Brian Jacques wrote the Redwall series, and he did such a fantastic job of writing not just adventure and anthropomorphized animals, but if you've ever wondered how to write accents, like so say that you have a character who's Scottish, right? um Brian Jacques, if you just open up a book and just any page, there's probably going to be a Scottish character. And he actually writes all the language in phonetics. So when you are reading this person speaking, you actually have to say it out loud and kind of guide your way through it to be like, oh, that's what they're saying. And so it was such a cool way for me as a person to learn how to do accents, and also how to create how people speak, as opposed to just like, oh, I want them to say these words. It's like, no, how does a person sound when they write? So now I've been able to translate that to, in America we have several different variations of accents, right? Especially from like the down south, there's 4 or 5 different southern accents, and I can utilize that same kind of system to make it sound more real, make people feel more real and more lived in. So yeah, those are probably, when I think of it, the 3 people who I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories, and I want to change people's like lives when they just bounce out into an adventure.
Love that. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
Yeah. So very much of those. So like the Redwall series was big for me. Chronicles of Narnia, the wizarding books that we shall no longer name, and obviously Lord of the Rings. Like that like I have Anduril hanging on my wall, the sword. And The Hobbit, I think, is my all-time favorite book. I was a strange kid, and I would actually go around and I memorized all the riddles in the Hobbit book, and I would just say them at people. I'd be like, "Here's my party trick. I'm going to tell you a riddle and see if you know what the answer is." But it was like one of the first books that I think my dad ever like read to me was The Hobbit, and it's always had that like that soft spot in my heart of the little guy who doesn't have any adventuring knowledge and is just thrown into this world of wild journeying and people and worlds that he had no context to ahead of time, and I've always really admired and loved that, and so it's my little like cozy story.
Love that. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll be honest. I'm actually I'm really bad at reading. It's so funny. It's one of those things that I love. I love stories and I love it. I'm just really bad at sitting down and reading. So I don't like read stuff until way after it's popular. And then it like suddenly makes its rounds back to me. I'm like, "Oh, hey, this is cool." So like I'm currently reading a couple of books. I'm actually reading this book just dropped. It's called Of the Stars by A.M. I think it's Alcivedo is how they say their name or her name. So that just dropped this past week. So I'm currently reading that. I'm also reading Unsold, which is by Will White. So that's the Cradle series, which is really cool. I'm just starting it, so I know it's a whole adventure. There's like 15 books in it. But beyond that, I love Neil Gaiman. Anytime Neil Gaiman puts something out, I'm like, I am there, babe. Let's go. Anything Terry Pratchett related, those are all things I'm really really interested in as well.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Oh, just starting out
Just
with reading again. You know, I think I'd say like find something that you think you're gonna love. Like during the pandemic, I actually sat down and read a book from cover to cover for the first time in years because I had time and I had nothing better to fill it with. And I read one of my all time favorite books. It's called Airborne by Kenneth Apple, and it was the first time I'd sat down and read something, and it just engrossed me. And I think that would be my suggestion to somebody who's like wanting to get back into reading is just find find the kind of story that you'd want to live in. And what I mean is like I'm an adventure person. I love going on adventures. I love traveling. I love swords. I love sword fighting. I love the idea of magic. So the books that are going to get me are the things that I would want to be a character in. And so when you find those stories that you would want to be a character in, I think that's the easiest way to get back into reading. Just to be able to be like, yes, this is a story that gives me all the serotonin boosts in my brain, and then it's a happy place for you to be. You're gonna enjoy being there, and you'll stick around.
love that. On the other side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Be nice to yourself. I know that sounds I know that sounds so strange, but like honestly, writing is really, really hard. And it's it's so easy to compare yourself to everybody else around, and to say like, oh well, I only wrote 100 words today. How am I a writer? How when you see all these people who pumping out books and books and books and books, and especially people who have full-time day jobs, who are trying to like write their first novel, it's so hard to embody that feeling like I'm an author when I don't get paid to do it, right? And so I think on both of those aspects, being nice to yourself when you're struggling with writing, like if it's a bad writing day, that's okay. We all have them. It's fine. Just like chill out. Like take a step back, be like, hey, I can write something tomorrow, or I can write something when I'm in a better headspace. Like this past week, like in my real life, I haven't written anything in my manuscript for a whole week just because I haven't been in the brain space. And if I sit here and try and force myself to write, it's gonna be I'm not gonna enjoy it. And like I'm always of the mindset, you know, you can write everything badly and then go back and edit it, because you can edit bad, you can't edit nothing. But if you don't enjoy writing the bad, then it's just going to be a miserable, like everyone's going to feel it. Your beta readers are going to feel it, your editor's going to be like, ooh, this is a rough chapter, I don't know. Like if you're not enjoying it, like take a break, it's okay. And also just embodying the idea of I am an author, letting yourself tell yourself that you are in fact worthy of that title makes a world of difference. And being confident about being like, yes, I am an author, or I am a playwright, or I am a screenwriter. Just being able to stand tall and say, yes, I am a storyteller of whatever vein you want to go, changes your mindset into, or from like, oh, I just piddly pip, to like, I'm making a thing that has worth. My work has worth. And so, yes, for somebody who's just starting off writing, just be nice to yourself and be confident in the fact that what you write matters, and you as a writer matter, and someone is waiting for you to succeed and write their new favorite book. Just hold on to that. Hold on to that in the back of your head.
Love that. And then since my new thing is going off script, which Patrick as a bonus, what would you tell someone you said that you do playwriting? What would you tell someone who just is starting and wants to get into that?
Into playwriting?
Mhm.
I would definitely suggest reading a bunch of plays. They're formatted very differently than novel writing. So like in novel writing, you describe everything, right? I mean, depending on how your style is, but you're going to describe the room and how people move and their internal emotions, right? Well, stage plays, totally different world. You're writing literally language and then stage business. So like if someone's moving across the stage, they have to either have a purpose, or you know, because you want to have a lot of space for the actors and the directors to do what they need, right? Because you know, per space, you know, if it's on one stage off Broadway and then another stage in another state, like the stages are going to be different, so you want to add as much space and as much wiggle room as possible for your show to be able to be open and usable in all the versatile, that's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, reading a lot of plays just to understand the format and how people write. So like understanding dialogue and how you tell a story through nothing but dialogue, which is really, really hard because a lot of novel writers depend on what's going on around, right? As you would. We're not constantly talking in our world. And so when you start off playwriting, you're going to want to use a program. I personally think like Celtex is a really great writing program for screenplays and stage plays. It shows you the format of how this is going to be most usable. It shows you where, you know, how you're going to use stage directions, and also finding out what stage directions are, what they are and what they are not. So again, like telling an actor to act you know, dismayed, that's not your choice. That's the actor's choice, the director's choice. Like maybe they're going to feel a different feeling that you never imagined, right? Because writing a character on stage is very different than writing a character in a book. In a book, it is very much, I'm writing Nikea Emberblade. I am writing her body, I am writing her language, I am writing her thoughts. She is a whole entity wrapped up in how I'm writing her. If I were to write a stage play, I can't account for who's playing her. I don't know what her body would then look like. You know, I couldn't tell you what the sound of her voice was. You know, if she's, you know, all the different variances, I don't know how her relationship to, like the actor's relationship to Kaz Darcy would be. So those are all things that you give up a little control to let a director and actors have life and play with them. So yeah, the advice is to use cell text and then to read a bunch of plays and go and see them. Go see plays. Go see theater. Theater's dying. Go do it. Um, yeah, go see your local stage productions and see how somebody would act on stage. And if you go, like, so say that they're doing Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Buy the play, read the play, go see it on stage, and be like, oh, that's how that translates. Aha! And then, yeah, after that, it's easy.
Love it. So for everyone, since I didn't dig into it earlier, what is your background with playwriting?
My background with playwriting, mostly that I started it by spite. I I'm a thicker individual, and I was so frustrated with not getting cast as leads and not getting cast as romantic leads specifically. And I was like, well, fine. If you're not going to cast me, I'm gonna cast myself. And so I wrote my first play out of sheer spite. And like I don't have a degree in literature or playwriting or anything like that. I've just always been a good storyteller, and then I did exactly what I suggested, which is reading plays, going to see plays, acting in them, understanding how plays work on a stage. And so my history has really been doing a lot of plays on the fringe circuit and getting them put up in places. Fringe circuit is like independent theater festivals. And in case anyone listening is unfamiliar with that term, so independent theater festivals are great for brand new playwrights. If you just want to know how your work relates to audiences, go to a fringe festival. Apply for fringe festivals. They're all across the country, all across the world. Like if you don't have a theater in your hometown that is open to new playwrights and new plays, theater festivals are they're so good. Chef's kiss. And so yeah, that's really been my history, is just nose to the grindstone and doing it. So like even my off Broadway show I did through through a theater festival, and it was my first solo show, which was an adventure. Like, let me tell you, trying to write a story through only words and one person's on stage, that's a whole different adventure. And so I've really learned playwriting through doing it, through actively experiencing it, just writing stuff. And every play you write is going to have rewrites, because something that sounds really, really cool to me as somebody who likes to write novels is not going to make sense on stage. Like sometimes people don't speak as flowery, or like the language doesn't fit right in the mouth, or it doesn't make sense to have whatever bit happen as opposed to everything else that's happening on stage. And so you learn all those things just the hard way. by constantly failing forward. That's the life motto. Fail forward. You're gonna fail. Just keep moving forward.
Love it. So just so that I can clarify for everyone listening, what does off Broadway mean?
Oh, okay. So I live in New York City, and mostly off, like the delineations of theaters, Broadway, off Broadway, off Broadway, mostly have to do with size. So it really, most of the theaters that are considered Broadway are going to be right on that the white lane, the Great White Way, that are massive, right? They have hundreds and hundreds of seats, and then off Broadway is anything that is like 100 seats, 100 seats to like 55. I think I could be messing up these numbers, but this is the general vibe. Anything from like 100 to 55, and then off Broadway is anything from like 54ish to below. And so when someone says they have an off-Broadway show, it means that the theater size is going to be somewhere in that 50 to 100 people per show kind of range, and that it has to be in New York, mostly in Manhattan. Off Broadway is going to be most things that are outside. So yeah, my off Broadway show was in a Manhattan theater, had 100 seats, and so I got to consider it an off Broadway show.
Love that. Thank you for that. So, what is one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Um, So the reason why I'm laughing is I was talking to my roommate about this earlier. I don't know if you can use this answer, but it made me laugh, and I'm going to share it with you. Because I'm a very open book. Generally everything, like I come off as a person who's like a big nerd. I come off as a person who likes certain things. And so there's very little that people are actually surprised about me. You may or may not include this in your recording, but my roommate was like, I really found it surprising you like men. And I was like, that's fair. I also am surprised I like men. But beyond that, something that I think vaguely surprises people is that I have a degree in legal studies and criminal profiling, especially as activist and as artistic as I am. I think a lot of people are surprised that my background is in that particular arena.
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
Anything else I'd like to add? Get yourself a team, and I don't mean like a marketing team or anything like that'd be great. That's super cool. But if you're going into writing, if you're going into any artistic endeavor, you need people on your side. You need people who care about you and care about your work. My brother Topher is my OG beta reader, and he reads everything I write. He reads it as I'm writing it. He actually, I have an open access document, and so he reads it as I'm writing. And knowing that someone cares enough to constantly check my document inspires me to write, because I know someone's waiting on it. It's that feeling of like, you're writing someone's next favorite book. That feeling to me really inspires me to write. And I have people who are checking up on me and saying like, hey, how's the writing going? The cafe that I told you about, the owners, Kim and Dan, they every time I walk in that building, they're like, how's the book coming? Have you been published yet? Where's your agent? And I'm like, oh, yeah. But they're constantly asking how I'm doing. And having that support means the world, and you don't know how much it means until you have it. Like people just interested in you and your work. I recently made a bunch of like stickers and keychains and things with my name on them to be like, hey, everyone come support me. And everyone at my restaurant has their stickers on their like bill covers, so that when they open it up, like guests can see my name and like the author thing. And so every time I see someone's like book lying around, I see that they care about me and they care about my writing. I sent t-shirts and keychains and all this kind of stuff to all these people who have had vague vague relations to this. Like I did a podcast with somebody recently, and I sent him a shirt, and during the podcast he revealed that he was wearing the shirt I had sent him, and it's an OG fan club. And I almost cried. I lost my mind because it was so cool to see someone who had very very little experience with me so excited to talk about and be a part of this whole adventure with me. So yes, that's the end all be all advice: is have a team, have people who are excited to support you and are team you. Hashtag team you. That's what you need.
Love that so much. So where's the best place readers can find your book, sign copies, and the best place to connect with you?
Cool. So I would love if you stop by my Instagram or my TikTok or my website. My Instagram and my TikTok and any social media is going to be at Mikaela Duffy Writes. So MikaelaDuffyWrites. Don't know why I made it that long, but I did. So any social media platform is going to be at Mikaela Duffy Writes. My website is www.mikaeladuffy.com. And if you want to check out specifically the Mistport Guardians story, it's going to be www.mikaela.com/Mistport-Guardians. But yeah, I would love, please come say hello. I love talking to people. I love making new friends, and I love talking to readers. I love talking to people who are into fantasy. I love talking to people who are into books, people who are into supporting other people who are endeavoring in their own artistic aspects. I love connections like that. So please say hi to all the little plays.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.